What up? Welcome to another episode of Source and Company. I'm your host, Source, of course. As always, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm not even gonna say Twitter anymore. My Twitter got hacked, and I'm not even going back to it. So Instagram and TikTok. There you go. At Source, of course, on both of those, and of course, follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, among other streaming platforms. All right. Let's get into it. So episode 69 was a live I did on TikTok with a young lady named Najee, who's TikTok famous. She's kind of blown up in that world. But the recording didn't save. TikTok didn't save it. So it's another lost episode. So we're up to episode 70, and we have one of the premier orthopedic surgeons in the Richmond area. He's actually one of only two Black surgeons in the area. He is also sports medicine physician for OrthoVirginia. And we are going to hear his story, see how he ended up in the 804 and see what he's got going on. Let me not mess this up. Dr. Kwadwo Owusu-Akyaw.
Yeah, well done, sir.
Yeah, close. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you in there, bro.
How you feeling?
I'm chilling, man. I'm blessed, man. Highly favored. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Can't complain. It's a beautiful day, like every day we wake up. So cannot complain.
Praise God.
So let's just start at the beginning. Like probably 80% of the episodes I've done, the first thing I ask people is the same question. How has COVID and quarantine through the pandemic and all that, how has all this time been for you?
Man, that's a wild question for me. So when COVID hit in March 2020,
yep,
I was in New York doing my sports medicine specialty training, right? And
wow.
I don't have to tell you, New York, that's where it like went down. That was like ground zero for COVID at that point, right? So I literally was there halfway through my fellowship. We just had a baby. You just had my son, Khalil. So he was like 6 weeks old that weekend when everything shut down. So literally my family had to leave. My wife and son had to leave to go to North Carolina, and I stayed up there. And I was actually up there by myself for about 2-3 months. And during that time, we shut down elective surgery. And orthopedic surgery is all elective, right? So at an extent, I was having to work and do ICU work for COVID patients up there, which is way outside, way outside of my specialty.
Really?
Yeah. So it was wild. So listen, man. So one of my mentors, Riley Williams, is the Brooklyn Nets doctor, Black man. So I was his assistant for the year. So I was Brooklyn Nets doctor for the year. So literally I went from beginning of March, covering NBA games, having a good time up in Berkeley Stadium. And then literally 4 weeks later, I'm sitting here doing ICU work.
Different world.
With COVID took over, right? Completely different world. So that's the number one way that COVID impacted us. With a newborn and with no one really understanding what COVID was about, we had to get him out of there, And so, being apart from my family was tough for those 2 months, but I think it was the right move. But yeah.
That is crazy. Just that part. We haven't even gotten very far, but just that part is crazy. I don't know if I told you when we first met. No, I probably didn't. We probably didn't talk about that. But we were on our way to New York.
Oh, really?
On that, we were supposed to leave on Friday morning, the 13th.
Yeah.
To go to New Balance Nationals track meet at the Armory for my daughter, my youngest daughter.
Oh, okay.
And we ended up canceling on Wednesday afternoon, evening, Thursday morning, or we would have been, stuck. We would have been stuck. And they ended up canceling the event on Friday morning. So, if we would have drove up there, we would have been unhappy. So thankfully we made the decision, the parents made the decision to not go, thinking that it probably was not a good idea. And it was the right decision. So
yeah.
Nobody needs that.
No, not at all.
So how did that whole everything you just said No, forget. I'm not even. That's not even talking about that. I was about to go into how'd you get to Richmond, but let's go back to ICU
I see
and
you. Yeah.
COVID. So another guest I had earlier this year is a filmmaker and a nurse. She did a documentary called 2020 Year of the Nurse, where she talked to a bunch of nurses. And it just brought me to that when you, because you were in the same mix. How was that? Just whatever comes to mind about that experience for you.
Oh, that was off the chain. That was, well, for one thing, first off, like, so in the very beginning of like my internship and residency, right? I did a little ICU work. That's part of every doctor's kind of training who becomes a surgeon, right? But that was years ago. I was useless. I was literally I was literally assisting the other doctors, assisting the nurses because they were the ones who knew what to do. I was just extra hands to help hold things. I was of no use as an orthopedic surgeon. So let me say that. It's so humbling is one word to put it.
I can imagine. But just, I mean, at least they know they can trust you in the situation. Yeah. I guess you're not doing anything spectacular, you would say anyway. But you were there and, they still have that trust factor, I would think, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all still physicians. I'm still an MD. I'm still a doctor, right? So there's some aspects of medical care, we're expected to be able to do. So some basic things. But when you get into the ICU, I mean, that's very specialized. The people who work there, the nurses who work there, I mean, they're specialized to the T. Their skill level is off, incredible. So I was like, look, let me hold what you need me to hold. Let me hold it. Put me where you need me to put me. You're in charge. I'm an intern. I'll do exactly what you need me to do. That's how we did it. So
respect. I don't blame you. Yeah, I'm here for you. You tell me where to go.
Exactly.
And I'll do it.
Exactly.
That's wild. So did that cause your stress level of COVID just in general? Did it cause it to go crazy even when you left New York?
Well, yeah, exactly. So by the time I left New York had actually kind of normalized, to tell you the truth. So we had gone back to close to normal. We were back to doing elective surgeries, ACL surgeries, meniscus surgery, rotator cuffs, all that business. We were back to that by the time I left.
Gotcha.
With the exception of everybody wearing masks everywhere, of course. But coming to Richmond, COVID took a whole nother turn on things, right? So I'm coming to a new city to start a sports medicine practice at a time when people aren't really trying to play sports.
Hey.
So that's a whole nother dimension of things. So, I mean, as you know, I'm active on Instagram. I try to, make outreach that way, right? And so I think part of the impetus and part of, I guess, the blessing in disguise as it pertains to that is that because there weren't sporting events to me to just go out and meet people in the 804, I had to network that way. And in doing so, I met a lot of people I may not have met necessarily in person, or maybe not on its own, right? So for instance, our mutual connect, Jermaine, our first connect was on Instagram. And had it not been for COVID, I probably would not have been nearly as active from the first time I stepped foot in the 804 on Instagram. And so making those connections early on was actually a blessing, that even now that things have changed in terms of how we deal with COVID, still those relationships are a blessing. So there's always that silver lining, bro.
Indeed. Yeah. And you kind of have to make the best of it. At the beginning, I didn't really want to tell people that, I mean, obviously, like I said, you're trying to make the best of it. It's death, it's despair, it's a lot going on.
Right.
For me personally, I kind of feel like I thrived somewhat through it just because everything was slowed down. Not even slowed down, everything stopped for real. And I was able to kind of do some things that I would not necessarily have had time for. Same with you and Instagram, really, where I could do other things, and hopefully in time those things flourish into bigger opportunities.
Exactly.
So let's talk about this field that you are in, orthopedic surgery. How'd you end up here? How'd you end up in this field? Not necessarily in the medical field, but this specific field.
In orthopedic surgery. Yeah. So So when I entered medical school, I was pretty clear that's what I wanted to do. So just to give some background for everybody who doesn't know the exact specifics, orthopedic surgery is surgical treatment of injuries to the bone or the joints, the cartilage, that kind of thing, anything in the limbs and the spine included, okay? And so many of those things to be treated surgically have to be treated almost like you would carpentry, right? So using screws, using saws and hammers, that kind of thing to put people back together, not to gross anybody out.
Hmm.
But as far as how medical school went, that spoke to me more than any other field from the very beginning. And so as compared to the other specialties that I learned about in medical school, I was like, orthopedic surgery is what I want to do. I like the aspect of working with your hands, but what I really liked was the aspect of getting people back moving again. Because what's cool about what we do is, there's a clear problem. You break your arm, I fix your arm, you feel better. XYZ, there it is.
Right.
So that's orthopedic surgery at large. So to do that after medical school, you do a residency for 5 years in orthopedic surgery. That includes the whole scope of orthopedics. But then within orthopedics, there's different specialties, right? So there's sports medicine. So people who do like ACL surgery, meniscus surgery. There's hand surgery, doing more like carpal tunnels. And there's people who do more like joint replacements. So while you learn all of that in residency, most of us now do a 1-year fellowship where we specialize in that part of orthopedics that we want to be the best at. And so thus, I did my residency at Duke University in North Carolina in Durham. But then my 1-year fellowship was at the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of pro athletes kind of go when they take care of a lot of pro athletes. So, up there, I learned from the best, man. I learned from my main mentor, Dr. Riley Williams. He's the man. He's the doctor for the Brooklyn Nets, like I said. So I was by his side, taking care of that team that year. But then I was also mentored by Dr. Answorth Allen, who's a doctor for the New York Knicks. And then Dr. Brian Kelly, who's for the New York Rangers. And Dr. Scott Rodeo, who's the New York Giants. So literally we're up there being taught by the best, which was a blessing, and learning just the best, techniques and everything like that. And then the funny thing is, so a local surgeon here, Dr. Ken Zaslov, was a good friend of my mentor, Dr. Williams. And he was leaving Richmond. And he was like, I need somebody good. And of course, Dr. Williams put me on. And that's how the connection happened for me to end up here. So I in essence, took over Dr. Zaslov's practice.
Wow.
And moved down here. Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What did you know about Richmond before that? Anything?
Man, not a whole lot, to tell you the truth, man. I've been to visit maybe twice. My wife has cousins here and an aunt here. So we've been to see them, I think maybe 2 or 3 times. I've driven past it on 95. That's all I knew, man. That's outside of the historical stuff. That's all I knew.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How has the city treated you? When did you actually move here?
So I moved here in August 2020.
So how has the city treated you for the last year and change?
Man, I gotta say, we loved it. We loved it being here. With the pandemic and all, I would say that our scope of things is probably limited in terms of, given the time that we moved here.
Right.
But for me, the degree of, I'm going to be blunt, the Blackness that I notice in Richmond is, it's off the chain. I see the Black entrepreneurship. I see the Black business side of things. I see the high level of sports athletic talent here. And I see people leveraging that talent in a way that is very independent, that gives them, a chance to advocate for themselves. It gives them agency. And I love all of that. And I did not know, it's a well-kept secret from the outside that Richmond's like that. It's not clear to people who aren't from here that it's like that. And so I got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised.
That's a beautiful thing. You never know what people think of Richmond, because everybody has their own opinion. Obviously, it's subjective, but you pointed out some great things, because a lot of people go a different direction when they think of Richmond. Either they think Richmond is just country, which, it's city and then it's country around on the outsides, or they think it's just straight hood, because Richmond's been, up there in kind of the murder stats in different years over the last 20 plus years. So you got that aspect as well. But it's a beautiful city, according to all the magazines these days. Richmond's like top 10 in places to visit in the US and all that type of stuff. So I guess it's not too bad, huh?
Hey, that's not bad, man. Creeping up those poles, huh?
Yeah, getting there. We getting there. Got to start somewhere.
Right.
So let's take it back a little bit. Where are you originally from? What city?
Well, I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I really grew up for the most part in South Lake, Texas, which is near Dallas.
Oh, word?
Yeah. We moved around a lot, but I was there, kind of middle school and graduated high school from there. So that's probably the place I know the best in terms of childhood.
Charlotte? Well, Charlotte is what we call Little Atlanta. I don't know how it was back then, but it's pretty much Little Atlanta at this point. I think it's pretty poppin' city now. What was it like in South Lakes though? South Lake. You said outside of Dallas? I feel like I've heard of South Lakes High School.
South Lake High School, you probably have. Yeah, it's kind of a powerhouse for football and all
football.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what was that like? So for one thing, it's a very comfortable place to live. So that opportunity was beautiful. Another standpoint, though, is very racist, from being blunt. So this is one of the Dallas Fort Worth, the Metroplex has just sprawling suburbs, just like back to back.
Oh, wow.
Okay. There's like 50 of them. So South Lake is just one of them. South Lake is very affluent. South Lake is actually also very white, very conservative, and they're not apologetic about their white conservativeness. So, being one of the few Black students who was there, there are definitely times when it wasn't cool. There's no doubt about that. Now, that being said, I mean, you can't really talk about that and not talk about the opportunity it affords one. No. So the opportunity it afforded me in terms of education, what have you, that can't be looked down upon either, of course. So we had that part.
That's kind of probably not on the same level, but when I think about my daughters who have grown up in a predominantly white area for the most part, and I wouldn't say affluent, but I would say, it's never a surprise to see a 16-year-old in a Benz, a new Benz or a Lexus. I'm sure, some families have their summer homes and all that type stuff. So, that's what they're around. At this point, especially with the way things seem to have turned a little bit since the murder of George Floyd, it's become more apparent to me that I put them in a situation where they're around people that they're around people who they may have relationships with, but then learn later that those people don't look at them the same way when they're not around that they do when they are around. Did you experience that, or was it just straight blatant?
Oh, it was both, but that part, absolutely. I didn't realize that part till later. But it was both. I mean, it was a combination of being called the N-word in school, right? But then, you have that, but then you have the more subtle, like, smile on your face, but, you're never really part of the whole thing, right? It was both of those. But and don't get me wrong, man, I definitely had, there are people who you rely on in any situation. There were those of us who were there who were Black, who kind of were cool with each other and what have you, right? But I mean, I think overall, I probably wouldn't like take my children there to grow up, given those circumstances. I think there's other ways to provide opportunities, but I mean, at that time, it worked for us.
I feel you. Where'd you end up going after that? You said you did your medical at Duke. Where'd you go before there?
I did all at Duke. I went to college at Duke.
There.
Yeah. And I went to med school at Duke. I did my residency at Duke. So I was there for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of Duke. That's
a lot of Duke.
Were you able to experience, I didn't even think we were going this route, but were you able to experience the Cameron Indoor Stadium once or twice?
Oh yeah, definitely did that. Definitely, you gotta do it at least once, man. So I did the whole camp out thing one year, freshman year. We do all that. Yeah.
Oh man, that's dope. My daughter actually hates Duke. My oldest daughter, she went to Virginia Tech. She's a Duke hater, and she likes you. She always liked UNC for whatever reason. So yeah, I won't tell you what to do.
I was about to say, man, we have to wrap this up now.
I understand. Oh man, so when you ended up, well, let's talk Ortho Virginia,
Yeah.
because that is your primary employer. How has how has that experience been for you?
Oh, it's been great, man. So OrthoVirginia, as you probably know, it's an enormous entity, right? So it's across the entire state. Richmond has the most offices of any of the regions of OrthoVirginia, but we're in Northern Virginia, we're in the eastern part, we're in the western part, we're all over. So that being the case, I don't know all my partners. I can't, right? So I'm familiar with the people in my office. So it's very much, there's a lot of independence that it lends me as a physician, provided one is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you could almost think of it like a barbershop, like you just need to pay your part of the what have you. And this is your space, you pay your part, you do what you have to do, you bring patients, you take care of them. And then based off insurance, that pays the bills and what have you. That's how it works pretty much. So, it's a good situation in terms of independence. It gives me some independence to be able to do what I want to do in the community, right? And make the connections I want to make, and take care of my family. So
That's beautiful. Yeah, I see you've made quite a few connections. As I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning or not, but you support, you give coverage to many of the youth sports associations, along with Life Christian and Richmond Ballet. How has that been? Because I know that's got to be an on taking, I would think.
yeah. I think well, first off, I consider that part of the job. But so to start with the ballet I inherited from Dr. Zaslav, Ken Zaslav, when he left.
Gotcha.
And so I took that on. And people don't think about dancers as athletes. They very much are athletes. They have injuries just like any other athletes. And so that's one of the, I don't want to say marquee, but that's a very high profile relationship, if you want. Okay. I value just as much, if not more, my relationship with, say, like Keetwan Heath with the 804 Sports Association, my relationship with Coach Charles Scott, with whom I work with for Life Christian Academy and for the Central Virginia Hurricanes, and a few other groups just like that. So Ricardo Marsh worked with his AAU basketball outfit. He's now an assistant coach at Virginia State University. But those connections, really helped me to get into the community and meet people, right, and be able to provide care. So providing coverage can mean a few different things. So a lot of times it's just so much as saying, hey, here's my cell phone, call me if you need to be seen. Because the issue when it comes to orthopedics, really any medicine at all, is access. It's access. People don't know who to call, how to easily reach someone. And so literally saying, here's my cell phone. You need me to look at your knee, text me. I'll have my clinic staff call you with an appointment. Boom, you're in. So that's probably the biggest part of any of it, which I'm happy to do.
I'm sure it's different, and it's probably inspiring to see a young Black doctor working with a lot of Black youth in the city specifically. How has that been for you? Like, do you consider it? I don't want to say like it's not a charity thing; it's business. But the fact that you're there is probably a big deal to the kids, even if they don't know it, even if they don't realize it now. Maybe in the future they'll realize we had a Black doctor. That's real.
Oh yeah. So if we take it back even a step, right? So orthopedic surgery is the least diverse specialty in medicine, period. 1.5% of orthopedic surgeons are Black. Like literally, we have a WhatsApp group where we're on called the 1.5%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not right, of course, right? And given we're 13-14% of the population, that's ridiculous. Okay. So you take that even a step further, for those who have done a fellowship in sports medicine, right? It's even less than that. So it's really not that many of us. And I do think, and this doesn't necessarily pertain to race necessarily all the time, but it plays an aspect of it. There's this divide between sports medicine physician and the sports community at large. There's this ivory tower almost a separation, right? So when you think about sports, just baseline for anybody, Black, white, whoever, right? I mean, there's a certain like swagger and a hypeness to it, right? It's youth, right? It's cool. usually there's some hip hop, rock and roll, whatever involved with it, right? Yeah.
Of course.
But then you think about an injury and suddenly you're in this, like, I want to say, whitewash situation where this old guy with a white coat shows up and tells you what's way. Like, why would there be that disconnect? So I do think we have to bridge that. And I like to think that my personal style allows for that bridge. And I would say, even if people don't necessarily pick up immediately, oh, well, he's a Black doctor, I like to think that me, making that connection, they feel that comfort level, right? And I've seen that with athletes of any race. They feel that comfort level because I'm going to keep it down to earth with you. And I'm going to recognize that, look, sports, it's more than just, your knee injury, right? Like, this is your scholarship, or this is your stress relief, or this is your paycheck, or this is your paycheck. This is your chance to get a paycheck, right? So you got to make that connection.
Definitely can be your future, especially dealing with younger athletes. I don't want to say definitely can be your future, but a lot of youth, and that's among any race, really. A lot of youth look at sports as an opportunity. Like, I want to go to college. I want to go D1. Everybody wants to be a pro something. Were you an athlete, or were you an athlete?
I was never good enough, man. I was, recreational. I was never good enough. I didn't get big till too late, bro. I didn't get big till I was 8. Was that? Oh, I mean, we would hoop. I do like rec league hooping and that kind of thing. But but nothing serious at all. But I didn't get big till I was 18. So
wow. Okay. Well, hey, I think you're okay. I think you're doing okay.
Hey, we made it happen still. Made it happen still, bro.
Indeed. So is football season? Well, football season probably wrapped up for you, right?
Pretty much wrapped up. Yeah, pretty much wrapped up.
Do you do basketball as far as associations in the city as well?
Yeah. So I mean, I have the association with Team Marsh Athletics, or TMA Athletics now, right, the AAU outfit. And then in terms of high schools, I mean, so Life Christian has a basketball team. I'm not as affiliated with them, but certainly if they need anything, they have my cell phone, so they can, text me if they need me. So
respect.
Yeah, for sure.
So you said you have a son. He's what, 1 now?
He's almost 2. He'll be 2 next month.
Okay. Is that your only youngin?
Well, I got one on the way too.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Building up.
Yeah, man. I said I got him on the way, like I did something. My wife Noelle has a one on the I'm not doing anything.
Respect, for real. Because we have a part in it, but we're not the primary, we barely the secondary. We just over here on the side trying to make sure things stay on the right track.
That's right, man. I'm not doing any heavy lifting there. So
that's key. What do you do outside of your work? Is there anything that do you even have time for anything outside of your work and family?
Well, work plus family, that takes most of the day, man. But what I tell you is I play a saxophone quite seriously, quite often, although not as much as I wish I could now. So throughout med school, I played with some bands, played with a couple of hip hop bands, played with a jazz band. I played at church kind of throughout my time in Durham. So that's one of my main things. I've been playing since I was 10. So
really,
23 years.
So why saxophone?
Oh man, I just thought it was hot. I was like, we were in the 5th grade and they were like, think about an instrument you want to play. And I was like, saxophone.
You said, you can keep this recorder. Y'all keep that recorder.
That's right. I was like, this thing's corny, man. Come on.
Yeah, I feel you on that. So you said that you grew up in we'll say Dallas, for lack of for the people to know the area, Dallas, Texas area. Actually, my cousin's out there now. He works for the government. He lives out there. And he mentions the racism quite a bit as well. Any siblings? Yeah,
I have 4 siblings. I'm the oldest, and we're pretty much just like back to back.
That was my next question. Where did you fall in line? How was that? That's a whole. So you've got that, and you've got the not to keep harping on the racism part, but you've got the area that you're in. Did you feel like you had to be extra cautious, extra careful, be a set of eyes looking for your four siblings on a regular basis?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like in high school, whatever, I was always very calm until it came to them.
Hmm.
Like the only times I ever there was ever a problem like that was when it came to them. Right? I was always very protective. So absolutely.
And that's you. You grew up with both of your parents.
Both parents. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Are they? Not to be morbid, but the only way I can ask: Are they still?
Oh yeah,
living?
they're with us. Yeah, they actually live in the Cincinnati area now, so they're not in Texas anymore.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you feel that you had the opportunities. Well, clearly you had the opportunities to pursue the dream that you had. I don't think I asked you, was this a dream early on, medicine at all? Or how did we get here? I guess you can't just fall into medicine, really.
Oh yeah, you have to be pretty intentional. Yeah, I mean, I think it was something that was on my, radar. Some of the, growing up, I would say. I don't know how serious I was about it until like midway, end of college. I started off, kind of doing a lot of the pre-med requisites, but I also had a lot of other interests in college. I mentioned music, so playing the saxophone, I do that. I had some interest in art at the time. I had some interest in, kind of marketing, business marketing stuff. I think some of that may come through in some of the Instagram stuff. Because I did work, I did some work on that in college, right? So I had interest in all that, and I kind of looked into all that. I spent some time at the business school. I had a business school mentor showing me the ropes. I was in a business fraternity, learning more about business that way, right? And I guess I didn't quite complete it, but I was nearly an art minor. So I did a few different things. But I mean, ultimately, I think probably like the central portion of things that brought it to medicine was the ability to help people in such a way that they can't help themselves. I think that's what it really comes down to with medicine. And that part's gratifying beyond anything.
I totally understand that. I told you before that my daughter is working on her doctorate in physical therapy, and it's pretty much the same reason wanting to help people. She actually was injured from cheering, like middle school, and had surgery, had the screw in her foot and all that stuff. So I think she says after that experience, she decided, because before that she had thought that she wanted to be a pediatrician.
Oh,
and she realized that she didn't want to hurt babies, stick babies, anything to hurt babies. So she went this route, but she said that helping people is definitely a strong part of it, and seeing them get better from the injury to healing is a powerful thing. So that's dope. What else you got, Doc? I know it's something. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like there's a piece of the doctor that I have not covered.
Yeah, man. So we need to talk about the whole philosophy about how sports health needs to change. Let's get into that, man. Let's get into that. All right. So my whole mission, if you follow me on Instagram, I say level the playing field a lot. Level the playing field is my thing. And so what am I saying when I say that? I'm saying that just as much as you have control over, or you should have control over how you're going to play, where you're going to play, right? You need to have control over your health as well. That's mental, that's physical. That's if you need surgery, that's if you need physical therapy. All too often, athletes feel like they don't have control of that aspect of things. You can't imagine the number of times I hear things like, well, I was assigned to that doctor, and so I went and see him. I wasn't really feeling him. That's who I was sent to. Not understanding that it's a free market. It's a free market. Unless there's some insurance blockade, you can see any doctor that you want to see, right? And so if the doctor you have doesn't make you feel comfortable, switch it up. You can switch it up. And so a lot of people don't really understand that, or even if they do understand it, don't have the access to do so. And so I'm here to create that access. All right. So creating that access means providing education, right? It shouldn't be a barrier between what I know and what you know. If you have an ACL tear, you know everything I know about the ACL, because I'm gonna be doing it to you when I fix it, right? It's your body. You need to know everything I know. It shouldn't be I have to go to the doctor to learn what's going on. It should be like, I go to the doctor that I choose based off what I know about said doctor and what I know about the ACL, right? You should be able to go in and ask your doctor what technique you use to do your ACL. You may not know every detail that I know. You didn't spend 5 years learning it, right? You should be able to quiz me. How good are your outcomes? Do your patients go back to playing sports? How good are you? So that's the whole thing behind it, man. It's leveling the playing field. It's about making it an even discussion. We should be discussing as peers. I'm not or a doctor shouldn't be, and I'm not some person on a pedestal speaking down to you about what should and shouldn't happen to your body. I'm a consultant. I'm going to give you the options. This is what you can do, and this is what will probably happen if you do this, and this will probably happen if you do that, and this is what I can do for you. But I'm a consultant. You got to choose. And that's how it should be.
That's real. That's real. Does the word, how people make jokes about the word practice? What is the actual, you may know, what is the actual reasoning for the word practice? Like, you're not practicing on a patient like that, but that's the joke that people say. So what is, like, is there something specific to the word practice?
Oh, no, not that I know of, man. I've heard that joke though.
Yeah,
they say it is the practice of medicine. Yeah, people will try to play me on that because some people will come in and be like, "Oh, you look young. Have you done this before?" Like, yeah, I've done this before. but
you see this coat?
Yeah,
see this white coat?
Oh yeah, I don't even wear a white coat though, bro. I don't even wear a white coat. No, bro. See, I level the playing field. No white coat, man. I'm in clinic looking just like you. We just talk it out. But yeah. People will try to play me about my age, and I've heard patients say things like, "Well, you're practicing on me. It's a practice of medicine." Then I lay it out for them. And they realize, oh, you know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. I train with the best, yo.
I ain't go to Duke for 13 years for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you know what? Actually, let's go back to the Brooklyn Nets and the sports world real quick.
Right.
I'm just curious. How was that experience? Like, I'm sure it's not like we would on the outside. We're probably like, oh, you're the doctor of professional sports team. That feels glamorous, looks glamorous to us. Did it feel glamorous?
Did it feel glamorous? I don't know about glamorous. I think it was an incredible learning opportunity. Glamorous probably isn't the right word. So like I said, so Riley Williams is the head doctor, right? And so I was mainly with him. If he couldn't handle something, then he may deploy me to go handle it. So it may be that there are some things, I can't say any specifics, but there may be some things he may ask me, go take care of that for me. I got to go do this, or I can't be there. Can you go to the training facility and handle that for me? Okay. And that's something that, every year there's a new fellow. So he's had many, many fellows. So I was just one of those, just to make it clear. But he and I had a great connection. I mean, I still call him, text him to this day. But in terms of the professional athlete, physician thing, I mean, it's incredible to be up in the stadium. It's incredible to have your, premier seat at the game and what have you. But there's a pretty high level responsibility for that too. Right. Like, for instance, if you need to give a status update on somebody to, say, the general manager or what have you, like, they want that status update, right? Like, they're not playing around, because they're trying to make moves. Or another example. So, again, I can't say any names, but professional athletes sometimes don't value people's time the way you think we should, right? So I can remember me and Dr. Williams sitting around waiting on somebody on a holiday 3 hours late to come check us out. I remember him specifically saying, oh, look how glamorous it is being a professional doctor. And then this dude just rolls up like there's no big deal 3 hours after his appointment, just because it's like that, right? So that's kind of the balance that it is. But that being said, though, I mean, Dr. Williams, that's where I got my game from. You understand? Like, this whole mentality about being on level playing field with the athlete. You walk in to after any game, we go to check on the other team's locker room, right? And just like in day-to-day life. So every team has a doctor, but they don't have to see that doctor if they want to see somebody else, right? And Dr. Williams, he's frequently the second opinion that they choose to go see from other teams. So you walk in, we walk into the Bucks locker room, the Hawks locker room, it's Gats in there like, hey, it's Dr. Williams, right? Everybody knows this dude. And so you can see the rapport he built with Alex. And that's what I learned probably more of than anything, because you can see how much they appreciate how real and level he kept it with them. It's not that, I mean, he's still a doctor, right? If you have the relationship, but it's not that he has this almost like all-knowing, pedestal aspect about him. He's keeping it down right here. He's giving them dap. He's saying, what's up with you? Da. And so that's probably the biggest thing I took away from there. And I see that translate into my relationship with my athletes here, be they at the middle school, high school, college level. And I think that difference really shows in our relationship.
That's dope. That's dope. What we can wrap it up here, actually, but I do want to ask you this one last question. What advice would you have for my daughter? I mean, obviously not the same field, but just in the medical world. And, as far as like, she's got 3 years. So she's in her first year of the doctorate program. What advice would you have for a younger, or even a younger person that's actually in the field that you're in as well?
Oh yeah, man. I think it's a few things. I think number one is you got to build a network. All right. And that network can be, people you feel comfortable with. They may not be the same color as you, but they may be. All right. But when you have that opportunity to be involved with affinity groups, like for instance, in orthopedic surgery, we have the J. Robert Gladden Society, named after Dr. Gladden, who was the first board certified orthopedic surgeon who was Black in America. Okay. And that's our group. And so I encourage everyone who wants to be into my field, who's coming along that pathway, you need to be involved with that. You need to meet people in that organization, right? And build a network. That network has opened incredible doors for me. It opened the door for me to go to that fellowship in New York where I met Dr. Williams, who was a part of the organization too, right? So I'd encourage her to work on that network first and foremost. Second, I would encourage her to remember you're not here to prove anything to anybody, all right? You got to be your own internal barometer for what's excellence and what isn't, all right? We're not here to show them that we're as good as them. We're not. You're here to put it together and make it excellent, objectively based on your own standard, which you'll set based off what you see day to day.
Respect. That's good stuff.
Facts, bro. I said I'm dropping facts, bro. That's pearls.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here
Yes,
for.
Yeah.
We're here to, to hear your story. And I always say, well, the kind of the motto of the show is everybody has a story, and you never know really who your story is going to affect or help or encourage or whatever the case may be. So we have to put it out there, put it in the air, and whoever it hits, that's who it hits.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, once again, Dr. Kojo, I'm going Dr. Kojo, Dr. O. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to join me. I know you are a busy man. Any last thoughts that you want to share with the people? And I guess, how can they contact you?
Oh, yeah. So let's see. You can go off my Instagram. The direct line to my team is on there if you need to call us. If you look me up on Google, that line should come up there too. You can go through OrthoVirginia proper. I'll come up as a provider through that as well. If you need a consultation, need to be seen, need a second opinion, first opinion, worried about an injury, just want to see something you should be worried about, come on through. We'll take care of you.
Excellent. Bro, I appreciate you taking the time. Y'all follow. What's your Instagram, Doc? Just we put it up there.
Yeah, Dr. O for the 804.
There it is, Dr. O for the 804. All right, Dr. O, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
No doubt. Source out here.